Hello everybody, this is Laura Susan Johnson with Period Pieces. Today I believe is the 16th of November, and I'm sorry it's been such a long time since my last review. I meant to do some more Halloween reviews, but that didn't work out. There's a new baby in our family, so with that comes the loss of privacy. I didn't have much privacy to begin with, and I don't like talking in front of people. Right now I'm outdoors, and it seems to be a very noisy day out on the freeway. I can hear the traffic really going. Anyway, I decided to do a review of a movie that is kind of about the Armenian genocide. There are several of these movies, and I haven't seen but one of them, the one I'm going to review. There is Ararat, directed by Adam Egoyan, which I think looks really great. It's a kind of a movie within a movie kind of situation, though, so I haven't seen that one yet. There's, of course, The Promise, which was released maybe a year ago or two with Christian Bale, Oscar Isaac, and Charlotte LeBon. And I haven't seen that yet. And then there's this documentary kind of about how a lot of these Armenian genocide-themed movies are kind of squelched in Hollywood, and by the Turkish government, of course, complaining about them. And that documentary is called Intent to Destroy, and it looks very powerful. It was a brutal, barbaric, calculated, premeditated genocide. And genocide was not coined until 1943 by, I forget his name, but genocide is basically the systematic and premeditated and intention to kill a race. And it is to this day controversial. The modern Turkish government denies that it happened. I don't know what they should be ashamed of. They should just acknowledge that their ancestors did this. They're not the same people as the Young Turks, the Pasha brothers, the Ottoman Empire. They're a whole different government now. They're one of the United States allies. They're the gateway to the Middle East, basically. I hold no grudge against the modern Turkish government, except I wish they would just admit that their former government did this and stop lying to their people about how it's a lie, that we're a bunch of liars. Armenians are lying about it. There is so much pictorial evidence. There are so many testimonies. There are so many books and memoirs and so much photographic evidence taken by allies that the Armenians desperately needed. And not only that, but the Ottoman Turks went after the Assyrians, and they also went after the Greeks. And this was a whole, I hate to say it, but it was just another Muslim versus Christian thing. They didn't want Christians in their country. Christians had fewer privileges because they were Christian, and if they converted to Muslim, of course, were able to have those privileges that the others, had. But in April of 1915, after a long planning and debating, they came, the Turkish government, the Ottoman Turkish government, the empire, came to the conclusion that Armenians needed to be put out of their territory. And they felt threatened by the Armenians because the Armenians pretty much sided with the Russians in that conflict that they were having against the Turks, because they'd been treating the Armenians like shit for since the mid-1800s, I think. There were Armenian women that were in the army with guns fighting as early as 1880s. There's photographs to prove that. There's so much being told to the Turkish young people nowadays that this whole thing is a sham, a lie, and I don't blame the young Turkish people. I don't even blame the government that's there today. I don't blame them. I just wish that they would just own up to it, that it happened. They have the evidence, but I think they're so steeped in their own shame that they just can't bear to admit it. It's easier just to go on denying it. But the fact is, when you deny the mass murder of an actual race, when you deny genocide, you are taking the final step in making sure that it keeps happening. Hitler himself said, "Who remembers the Armenian people?" They've buried that. History's buried it. Now people are arguing whether or not it really happened. And the Armenian genocide is the forgotten genocide. That's why they call it that. And that's why there's so many Armenians to this day that are enraged and pleading for justice, pleading for Turkey just to admit, yes, the ancestors back 100 years ago did this. They did this horrible thing. A lot of governments do terrible things to other people. You know, if I went into genealogy, if I went to 23andme.com or Ancestry.com, and I found out that I had Turkish and Armenian blood in me, which really, it's just a line in the sand. Armenia is an unapologetically Christian country. And I am the last person who believes in Christian nationalism, believe me. But it's the kind of faith and the kind of strength and resilience that the Armenian people have displayed during and after this atrocity that makes me really admire some Christians. I admire those kinds of Christians that have been through a whole lot of shit and still believe. Christians that have been tortured and mutilated and somehow survived it, have lost family members. Those kinds of Christians who hold steadfast to their beliefs have my utmost respect. And I will never respect any religion. I don't care what it is, even certain Christian sects. I will never respect any kind of faith that hurts other people, that tortures other people, that uses Salafism, forced conversion. You know, you cannot force people to convert. Not only are they lying to you when they convert just to save their skins, but it's not God's way. It's just not God's way. God gave man free will. So if you're trying to take free will away from men and force them to convert to your religion, or you're going to shoot them, I have no respect for you. And so that's how personal this thing is to me. I'm a mixed race person. I have Swedish, German, English, Irish, Armenian, Cherokee, and I love and have pride in all of my heritage. If I found out I had Turkish blood, I would still say I would say, yes, my ancestors did this to the Armenian people. My ancestors did this to my other ancestors. It's not right. It's happened in Cambodia. It's happened in Rwanda. It's happened in Bosnia. It happened to our own Native American peoples. It's evil, and it needs to be stopped, and the only way to stop it is to acknowledge the mistakes of our past. So, that is my miniature or long, whatever you want to call it, reason why I'm reviewing 1915 the movie. They call it 1915 the movie. And what it is it's a play within a movie. It stars a very beautiful actress named Angela Sarafian, and she is my muse for Lisbeth. Lisbeth is in my story. She's beautiful. She has the most beautiful, unique look about her, and she played the part. She played a dual role. She played herself, the actress, and she also played Annie, A-N-I, which is an Armenian name, who is an Armenian, she's an Armenian woman back in 1915 who has to make this terrible, yet, very controversial, very difficult, but very thought-provoking choice. Simon Epkarian? Is it Epkarian? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I wrote my notes very sloppy. He plays Simon, and he is the director of the play. And he's got a lot of protesters outside the LA theater where it's a one-night only play. And it's going to be on the, of course, 100th anniversary of the genocide, which is April 24th, 2015. So this is not only a kind of a recent time capsule, but it's a parallel period piece as well. So he's playing Simon Ebkarian is playing Simon, the director of the play. He's also Angela's husband. And he seems to be a very stubborn, focused, serious, extremely serious about his play and how it plays out, basically. But he has Turkish people outside the theater protesting the play because they don't believe this genocide ever happened, and he has Armenian people outside protesting it because of a very controversial little twist in the story. Actor Nikolai Kinski plays Tony. All I can say is that I've seen pictures of Nastasia Kinski, and they look exactly alike, so I wonder if they're related, because they look exactly alike. It's very uncanny. Sam Page, he plays a very difficult role. He plays an actor named James, who is playing an Ottoman soldier in this play. And it's this Ottoman soldier that is kind of the catalyst between the strange, modern story going on with all these people, and also with the play. And you have an actress named Deborah Christofferson. I've never heard of her. She plays an elder Armenian lady. I think it's Annie's mom, Lillian. And then a young child actor named Sonny Suljic. He plays Gabriel. And then rounding out the cast is British actor Jim Piddock. He plays the theater owner, Jeffrey. He's Simon's partner. Simon basically writes and directs the plays, and Jeffrey finances them and makes sure that, the theater's running properly and all that. During the modern story, you find out that Angela, the actress, has not performed in 7 years because of personal tragedy. but she's coming back to the stage. This is her triumphant return, so to speak, when she's playing Annie in this 1915 play. It's hard to articulate how I feel about this movie overall. Most of the movie is confined inside the theater, so there's no actual desert to walk through. There's no actual grass. There's just a set, with a house. Turkish soldiers come and take Annie's husband away and induct him into their army so they can work him to death. And then they come and they get her and her family, her young son, her mother. It's a play. I shouldn't have expected anything different. But so much is concentrated on Angela's tragedy rather than Annie's. They have a personal tragedy that happened 7 years ago, and it all that's how Simon writes this controversial twist, but he knows that it'll stir up controversy. It's very thought-provoking, and it was a clever parallel between Annie and Angela's tragedies. It was a clever parallel, and the choice that Annie makes in the end, as much as it angers, both Armenians and Turks, it was actually kind of ballsy in my opinion. It was very, it's not very pleasant, it's not going to get everybody's pom-poms waving in the air, but it's definitely ballsy and unpredictable. I enjoyed the acting. It was top-notch by all of the cast.